This is Jeremiah chapter 28 and verse 8. The prophets that have been before me and before thee of old prophesied both against many countries and against great kingdoms, of war and of evil and of pestilence. Alright, I want to start off with saying Shalom. Got to give all praise to Yahweh, Bahashem Yahweh Shai, Yahweh who the world ignorantly calls God, and Yahweh Shai who the world ignorantly calls Jesus Christ. And I just want to do a quick lesson about the future judgment that, the Most High is going to bring upon Babylon. Which, if you've been living under a rock, Babylon in the Bible is referring to the United States. Now, you'll have other groups out here, man, right, or other so-called Bible teachers like, the Christian Church, they'll tell you that, the Vatican City is Mystery Babylon, or Jerusalem's Babylon, or, it's the whole world by itself. Like, that's what this dude, what's this guy, Vocab Malone? Right, Vocab Malone, he said, and I know this because I went on one of his streams and asked him about it. He teaches that Babylon is actually the entire world of itself, right? So when Babylon burns, it's actually the entire world that's going to burn, according to Vocab. So I mean, that's pretty stupid right there, But there's a bunch of different doctrines and beliefs that people go around and and teach about that, which that's a video for another time as to the breakdown of who it is and how you can prove that in the Bible. But we're going to be talking about the judgment that the Lord's going to bring upon that city, which again, the true breakdown is it's actually talking about America, right? America is called Babylon, or the mother of harlots, or that great city. It calls it multiple different names in the Bible. Now, one might say, well, wait, why would the Bible not just call Babylon America just so people know what it's talking about? And for one, why I would not say that is if you go to Matthew chapter 13, verse 10, the apostles asked Christ, why do you speak these things in parables to the masses of people? And Christ said, because to you it's given to know the mystery of the kingdom of heaven, but to the masses it's not given. Right, so that's why the Bible is written in parables many times, because it's not given to the masses of people to interpret the meaning of these stories that we read, or these parables that we read. It's not given to them to understand. So that's why these things are written in parables. So I'm going to start off with Isaiah chapter 47, and I'm going to go to verse 8. It says, therefore hear now this, thou that art given to pleasures, that dwells carelessly, that says in your heart, I am, and there is none else beside me. I shall not sit as a widow, neither shall I know the loss of children. But these two things will come upon you in a moment, in one day, the loss of children and widowhood. They shall come upon thee in their perfection, for the multitude of your sorceries, and for the great abundance of thine enchantments. For thou hast trusted in your wickedness. Thou hast said, none sees me, that wisdom and your knowledge it has perverted thee. And thou hast said in your heart, I am, and there is none else beside me. Therefore shall evil come upon you. Thou shalt not know from whence it rises, and mischief shall fall upon thee, and thou shalt not be able to put it off. And desolation shall come upon thee suddenly, and thou shalt not know it. Right, so, this is speaking about America right here. One of the key giveaways as to who this is talking about, it mentions multiple times that she says in her heart, right, I am and there's none beside me. And that's the slogan of America, right? America, the great and beautiful, right? America, the number one place on earth. Everybody wants to come to America's number one. Right, all these different quotes and slogans, right? A nation under God, which that's not true. That's blasphemy to say that, because how the hell can you be a nation under God, but yet you're, the way that your society is set up completely contradicts the Bible. Like, I'll give a couple examples, man. There's a couple states where you're allowed to enact in bestiality. Look that up if you don't believe me. Right, and then across the country, or as Larkin Rose would say, the crunchy, the act of, same-sex marriage is legal in this country, right? All 50 states. So that clearly goes against the Bible. And those are just a handful of, of things that, prove that this place is what the Bible's talking about here. But really, when you get down to it, the real place where we see, how this is America is when you read Revelation 17 and 18, right? Read both of those chapters. I won't read it for the sake of time, the whole thing, but if you read both of those chapters, it's going to make a crystal clear picture that this is talking about America, right? It breaks it down. It makes it very simple as to what it means. But I'm going to pick a couple of verses here, going over the destruction of Babylon, and we're going to see what this is talking about. I'm going to go to Revelation chapter 18, and I'm going to go to verse 7. It says, "How much she have glorified herself, and lived deliciously, so much torment and sorrow give her. For she said in her heart, I sit as a queen, and am no widow, and shall see no sorrow. Therefore her plagues will come in one day, death and mourning and famine, and she will be utterly burned with fire, for strong is the Lord God who judges her." Right, so America, right, Mystery Babylon, she sits as a queen, right? Nobody can touch her. That's why, America, has never really faced any type of invasion from another country, right? Because this country has always been on top. America has never had, troops from a foreign country, come over here in some type of like invasion of America. That's never happened before. Why? Because this is as it says in Jeremiah, right? I believe it's the 50th chapter or the 51st chapter. It says, how has the hammer of the whole earth been broken asunder, right? The hammer of the earth is talking about America. Because if you do the research, America has 900 plus military bases around the world. And if you don't know what that is, basically they have not every country in the world, I would imagine, but in a great amount of the countries in the world, which how many countries exist on Earth? They say there's 295 or 195? I believe it's 195 actually. Yeah, I want to say it's 195 countries that exist on the earth. So, out of those 195 countries, a great amount of those countries have a military base in it of America, right? Where America has troops stationed in those countries for whatever reason they decided to, go there. It could be a, military reason, could be a political reason. It could vary from base to base for why they want to be over in that region. But they have an option to set up base around the world in all these different countries. So again, it furthermore proves that this is talking about America, because what other country has 900 military bases set up around the world where they could have troops stationed there at all times? You can't say that about any other country because it's talking about America. Anyway, verse 9, it says, "The kings of the earth who have committed fornication and lived deliciously with her, they will bewail her and lament for her when they see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, the mighty city, for in 1 hour has your judgment came." Right, and that's what's going to happen. These other countries and the political people over there and the average citizens are going to be watching on the TV set, and they're going to see, breaking news, America has just got hit with, nuclear weapons, and that's going to be the talk of the day. And I can speak for myself. I had a dream, a few years back, and you know how the scriptures say, what is that? Acts 3:17. I'm paraphrasing it, but it says, in the last days, people are going to dream dreams and they're going to see visions, right, of, the things that the Lord's going to shortly bring to pass on the earth, right, of end time dreams. That's why people all over the world, are having dreams or visions of, end time events, even little children and shit. And it furthermore proves that we're in those times. But going back to my vision, the dream I had, which, I don't have to say the whole thing, but essentially what it came down to is I saw on the TV set, it said, you could see America set on fire, right? It was like a lake of fire from a, elevated view. And the caption at the bottom of the screen, like, how if you watch the news and they have a caption at the bottom of the screen, what's the word I'm looking for? Screen, excuse my stutter. It said America, the lake of fire on it. And that's spiritual because we know the breakdown of the lake of fire in the book of Revelation, when John saw that, what he actually seen was America on fire from an elevated position. So that's why when he was looking down, it looked like a lake of burning fire. But it was actually Babylon that he seen. But again, from his elevated position that he was seeing this from, the best way he could describe it was a lake of burning sulfur and fire. So, that's spiritual, right? America, the lake of fire, right? And that's what it's gonna be. That's what it's gonna be when this judgment takes place. So you're gonna have people all over the world that are gonna, be looking on their TV sets and they're gonna see this breaking news that America has just got hit with these weapons, and that's gonna be the talk of the day. Like, say for example, I wasn't alive when 9/11 happened. I wasn't alive back then. But I know based on, people I spoke to or, news clips that are online where you can watch the entire, news broadcast from the event when 9/11 happened, or you have, hundreds, thousands of, videos from people, who were there and recorded it on their phone, or people, giving their reactions to it, a bunch of shit like that. So I can understand, when that event happened, that the whole world was at a standstill when that happened, right? That was like the talk of the day right there, right? Everybody around the world was talking about that event, right? When the Twin Towers got hit. Right, so when this judgment happens, when this happens, this is going to be the talk of the day, right? The entire world, like you have a saying that goes, the whole world came to a standstill. Which we know the world doesn't actually spin, but it's a metaphorical meaning behind it, right? Meaning what? Everybody stopped what they're doing to pay attention to the news to see what's going on with this event. Same thing with what happened when, on, February the 24th, right? When Russia moved in on Ukraine, that was the talk of the day. And I was up early in the morning when that happened. I was like one of the handful of people in America who knew that was happening when it was, because it happened at like 4 a.m. So most people were asleep. But I got the news, like, say, 20 minutes after the tanks rolled over the border, because it takes the news a little bit to, travel around the world. So, like, 20 minutes after, their attack began, I got the notification that, stuff was going on over there. But anyway, going back to the verse, I'll read verse 9 again. It says, "And the kings of the earth, who have committed fornication, and they live deliciously with her, they will bewail her and lament for her when they shall see the smoke of her burning, standing afar off for the fear of her torment, saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that mighty city, for 1 hour has your judgment came." Right, and that's what's going to be going on. These people are going to be around the world, in awe. They're not going to believe their eyes to see that America, right, the glory of the world, right, that great city, right, that untouchable city has just been attacked, right? People are going to be in shock. They're not going to believe their eyes when they see this. Let's go down to verse 11. Oh, and again, this also proves that this is America, because it speaks about the merchants of the earth that were made rich off of selling their merchandise to Babylon. That's not talking about the Vatican City. The Vatican is only making like, what, $30 million a year off of imports into the city? Wait, that's all they're making. But back off of the 2017 statistic, the statistics from 2017, it said America's yearly imports were like 2.21 trillion, and that's only one up from there. But again, it furthermore proves the point what I'm going to read, because it speaks about the, all this merchandise being brought over from around the world into this place called Babylon. And again, the only place that fits the description is America. There's no other place on earth. You can't say China, because China exports this merchandise. They don't import it into their country. Verse 11, it says, "And the merchants of the earth shall weep and mourn over her, for no man buys their merchandise anymore." Let's focus on that. I'll read it again, verse 11. "The merchants of the earth will weep and mourn over her, because no man buys their merchandise anymore." Right, so these other nations Once again, all the stuff in the store, like 95% of the products that are in your grocery store, they're shipped in to America from around the world. Like, let me tell you an example, right? A few years ago, I was at Walmart and I was looking at the American flags, and I kid you not, the one I looked at said it was made in China. It's like, think about that. What the hell? American flag made in China? What the hell? So again, it goes back to the statement that 95% of your goods that you buy at the grocery store, they come from a foreign country. Some of them might come from Pakistan, some might come from, India, Germany, mostly from China, of course, but they, come from all over the world. So again, these merchants, they're going to weep and mourn over Babylon because now they're not going to be able to make money off of sending merchandise to her anymore, because this place was the main place they would send their goods to in order to make a profit. And that's why you have people over here that might come up with stupid, trends. Like, say, for example, there was this idea before where this guy came up with an idea to make something called a pet rock, which is literally just a rock that's in a box. And a dude became a millionaire off of that stupid idea. These dumbasses out here actually bought that. That's just one example. You have people over here that become overnight millionaires because they make their products for cheap, usually with slave labor in these foreign countries, and then they send the products overseas to the United States. And then they can make, a profit off of selling that merchandise over here, because the people over here will buy it at a greater price to what they could sell it for in their own country. Because Americans are what you call consumers. Now, here's a fun fact for you. The average American household has over 300,000 items inside of it. And that's everything down from, a paper clip to fridge magnets to a chair to the TV, the sheets of paper, everything added together. The average American household has 300,000 items inside of it. It's a fact. Look it up. That doesn't mean every household is, but the average American household has that many items inside of it. So again, Americans are what you call consumers. Man, I've watched, documentaries about people living in these foreign countries, like, say, India or, Africa. The people living over there, they're very, what's the word I'm looking for? They live with the bare necessities they need for life, to put it into simple to understand terms. Like, if you look at some of their homes over there, man, American wouldn't be able to, live a day. American wouldn't be able to live a day in their shoes, right? Living in those, countries where they don't have access to, running water. They got some of those people have to, work an entire day just for $1. A lot of people don't even have access to the internet over in those countries. Oh, here's a fun fact for you. Right, here's a fun fact. There's more people on Earth who have a phone, like a mobile phone, like what I'm recording the video on, than there are people that have access to a working toilet. Look that up. It's a fact. But anyway, going back to the scripture, go to verse 12. It says, the merchandise, and now it tells us a little bit of the merchandise that's being shipped from across the world into Babylon. It says the merchandise of gold and silver and precious stones and of pearls and fine linen and purple and silk and scarlet and all fine wood and all manner of vessels of ivory and all manner of vessels of most precious wood and of brass and iron and marble and cinnamon and odors and ointments and frankincense and wine and oil and fine flour and wheat and beasts and sheep and horses and the slaves and souls of men. Right. Now, what does that part mean? Because there's slavery going on underground, right? Well, not literally, like under the earth, but, like behind the scenes, so to speak. It's not publicly known. You have human trafficking going on, right? Where they have, people being shipped around the world, where, in slavery, right? They're basically in slavery, right? They're being, shipped, usually as sex slaves, but, could be, for labor as well. It depends on the reason why people purchase them. But these rich and powerful, in the societies behind the scenes, they deal with that, the human trafficking. Usually it's women and children, but they got men there as well. Right, so quite literally, slaves and the souls of men are being traded in America as well. Oh, and that's why, these Hollywood celebrities, you'll hear them say in some interviews or their music videos, they'll say, I made a deal with Satan, right? I sold my soul to the devil, right? They made a contract with the devil for a exchange of, fame and fortune, right? So that verse is quite literally, taking place. Let's see. And verse 14 it says, and the fruits that your soul lusted after are departed from you, and you will, and all these things which were dainty and goodly are departed from you, and you shall find them no more at all. The merchants of these things, which were made rich by her, will stand afar off for the fear of her torment, weeping and wailing, and saying, Alas, alas, that great city Babylon, that was clothed in fine linen and purple and scarlet, and decked with gold and precious stones and pearls, for in 1 hour such great riches came to naught. And every shipmaster, and all the company in ships and sailors, and as many who traded by the sea, they stood afar off, and they cried when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What city is like to this great city? Right. Now there's a lot to take in there. Basically it's saying, this great city, America, because again, America is viewed as heaven on earth. At one point in time, people around the world, they thought that the streets of America, they were paved with gold. You have people risking their lives every day to flee to America in hopes of of a better life. Like I even had, years ago, I had somebody who contacted me over one of my social media pages, and he asked me, hey man, is there any way that you could help me, sneak into America? And I tell him, well, how the hell am I supposed to help you sneak into America in the first place? But I just bring this up to say, well, see, you got people who will, risk their lives just for a chance of having a better one in the United States. That's why you got, thousands of people illegally, so-called illegally, jumping over the U.S.-Mexico border every day. And you got people, trying to enter the United States off of the coast. People are creative. Like I've seen, oh man, I was watching a video one time of all of these creative ways that people use to try to, get across the borders of, with America, whether it be from Canada, Mexico, or wherever else they might have one. These checkpoints. There's some crazy shit, man. These people were, like you had one guy who was like literally in the car seat, like literally inside. He was sewn into the car seat. You had another person that was, like underneath the trunk, right? They hollowed out the trunk and built out a place where he could hide underneath it so you couldn't see. You have people that are hiding up by the engine somehow. It's crazy, the length that people will go to just to try to enter into America. But again, it goes back to the statement, right? America is that golden city, that place where everybody wants to be, right? America is that place everyone wants to be. If you go to these developing countries and ask people living there, well, where do you want to be? If you had a choice to go anywhere in the world other than where you're at, where would you want to be? 90% of the people say, yeah, I want to go to America, right? I want to go, get rich in America, right? That's everybody's dream. But they don't know the American dream is dead, but that's a video for another time. I'm going to go to verse 17. It says, For in 1 hour such great riches is come to naught, and every shipmaster and all the companies in ships and sailors, and as many as traded by the sea, they stood afar off, and they cried, when they saw the smoke of her burning, saying, What city is like to this great city? And then they cast dust on their heads, and they cried, weeping and wailing, saying, Alas, alas, the great city, wherein we were made rich, all that had ships in the sea, by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour was she made desolate. Right, now when it says they cast dust on their heads, that's not literal. That was a custom that was practiced, back in the Bible days, back in, thousands of years ago. That was a custom that people had back then, and they were in a stage of mourning, so they put, dust on their heads, like sprinkle dust on their heads. That was a custom that people had back in those times. So what it symbolizes is that they're just in mourning, right? They're in mourning about what they're witnessing. And even, let's see, even in verse 19 it says, wherein we were made rich, right? All the headships in the sea by reason of her costliness, for in 1 hour was she made desolate. Right, so all these people were on ships watching, America, on fire. Right, all these people were on merchant ships that were, coming to the ports, when this event took place. So now they're standing off, watching this place burn, and they're upset because now they don't have a place to, become rich off of, because nowhere else in the world they can take this merchandise to and make a profit like how they can do in America. Verse 20 says, rejoice over her, thou heaven, and ye holy apostles and prophets, for God have avenged you on her. And a mighty angel took up a stone like a great millstone, and cast it into the sea, saying, thus with violence that great city, Babylon, will be thrown down, and she will be found no more at all. It says, and the voice of harpers and musicians, and pipers and trumpeters, will be heard no more at all in thee, and no craftsman, or whatsoever crafty be, will be found any more in thee. And the sound of a millstone will be heard no more at all in you. And the light of a candle shall shine no more at all in you. And the voice of the bridegroom and of the bride shall be heard no more at all in you. For thy merchants were the great men of the earth, for by their sorceries were all nations deceived. By your sorceries were all nations deceived. And in her was found the blood of prophets and of saints, and of all who were slain upon the earth. Right, now if we go back up to say verse 22 and 23, right, it speaks about the, there would be no more music coming out of America. There would be no more people working. There would be no more marriages in America. Right, and that's simply a breakdown of that once this happens, none of that's going to be taking place in this land anymore after this event takes place. But anyway, I don't want to make the video too long. But that's what it is in a nutshell, man. That's the judgment that the Lord has prepared for America. That's why we're warning our people. Hey, you gotta, separate yourself from, her ways, man. Matter of fact, let's even go back up, right? Revelation 18 verse 4. It says, I'll even read verse 3 as well. It says, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth will wax rich for the abundance of her delicacies. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that you be not partakers of her sins, and that you receive not of her plagues. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God remembered her iniquities. Right, so we're out here, warning our people, hey, you got to repent from your sins, turn to Christ, Yahushai, and, turn from your unrighteousness, because if you don't, then you're going to get caught up in this destruction. So, hey, if they don't hear, don't want to listen, hey, then that's their ass right there. If they don't want to listen, don't want to, turn from the ways that they're living, then hey, they're welcome to continue in that lifestyle, but, they've been warned, about these things. But anyway, I'm going to make the video, I'm going to end the video there. I'm going to say shalom.